Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, it is so great to have you. I'm Antoinette, a New Zealander living in Germany. And a while ago now, I actually made a video talking about regular, normal, everyday German things that I just don't understand, even after living in Germany for so many years. And at the end of that video, when I was filming it, I thought, I don't want to end this video here. I have so much more to say about this, but I just didn't want to make the video too long. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a follow-up on that video, and I'll be talking about regular, everyday things that are totally normal to Germans that foreigners, many foreigners, find very confusing. You guys seem to really enjoy these types of videos where I analyze German culture and I talk about Germany through my eyes, through the eyes of a New Zealander living in Germany. And it actually surprises me. I have a lot of German viewers, which I love. I think that is so, so cool. And I hear a lot from Germans who watch my videos that you enjoy my videos because it helps you learn more about your culture. And by learning more about your culture, you get to understand other cultures, which I think is amazing, and it says a lot about Germans. I think Germans are, in general, really open-minded people and are really interested to know how other people perceive them. Okay guys, so let's get into it. I've actually got 5 points here. This is in no particular order, by the way, but something that I think a lot of foreigners would be quite confused about first coming to Germany is the German rating system and how like tests are marked in Germany. So for example, if you were taking a test in Germany, you were rated from 1 to 5. So 1 is the best and 5 is the worst. And so in New Zealand, 1 would be the worst and 5 would be the best if it's rated out of 5. For me, I sort of thought like 1, that's the lowest number, so that would be like the worst mark, and 5, that's the highest number, so that would be the best mark. So if you get a 1 in a test in Germany, that's always the best. That's the best mark you can get. And it just took a little while for me to get my head around that, because for me, I always associated 1 with bad. So 1 is like a really low score. It's just something just a little bit different. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, it's just how they do it here in Germany. But something that also confuses me is that in Germany, if you're rating like a restaurant, you're giving a restaurant, you know, a score out of 5, then 5-star is the best and 1-star is really bad. And so Germans have kind of sort of clicked on to this rating system when it comes to like rating a restaurant or a hotel or a service or something, except when it is like a mark in an exam or a test, then 1 is the best and 5 is the worst. So yeah, it's just something a little bit confusing, and it's something that took me a while to get used to. Okay, so the next thing that I found a little bit confusing when I first saw it in Germany is the way that Germans count using their hands. So in New Zealand, you will always start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in Germany, they start with their thumb. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is something really tiny and not really important at all, but I just found it quite fascinating how different countries count with their fingers in different orders. And I do find it kind of funny that my kids have caught on to the German way of counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so Amelia must have picked it up at kindergarten, and Matteo must have picked that up from Amelia. You know, that is a real German thing to count with your thumb first, and I just find it hilarious that my kids have caught on to that. And it definitely does make sense. I can see how Germans do this because there's a flow to it, you know, starting with your thumb and then, you know, moving down. But for us, it's a little bit, you know, the order is a little bit off, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I guess we start with our fingers, and a thumb is not really considered a finger, so we go through all our fingers first and then our thumb is last. So kind of funny, kind of interesting. Okay, so the next thing that really confused me when I first came to Germany is the way that they fill out forms here in Germany. So you will know if you come to Germany, there is so much paperwork and bureaucracy. It is just part of life in Germany. You just have to roll with it, really. If you live in Germany, you are going to be filling out so many different forms. So for example, if I take my children to the pediatrician's office, we will have to fill out a big form, like a questionnaire about my child. So they may ask you a question like, does your child have an allergy? And so on the form there will be 2 squares, yes or no, and if your child does have an allergy, you will cross the yes instead of ticking it. So in New Zealand, if your child has an allergy, you will tick the yes. But in Germany, I've noticed that they cross the yes, which I still to this day don't understand why. There has to be a good reason behind it, but for me, a tick means yes and a cross means no. My husband had to teach this to me because I was just like ticking everything on the forms, and he said, no, you have to just put a little cross in the box if it means yes. And I'm still thrown off by it, and it still feels weird to cross something if the answer is yes. Okay, so the next thing that still to this day confuses me sometimes, and that is telling the time in Germany. So I'm not going to be talking about 24-hour time because yes, that can be confusing if you're not used to it. Something that really confuses me in Germany is when you are saying 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. So in English, if it is say 11:30, you can say 11:30 or 11:30. And in German, you will say 11:30, but you can also say 11:30. So the number 12 in German actually means 12. So basically for 11:30, you are saying 11:30, 12:30. And so this is just so confusing because it means 11:30, but they say 12:30, 12:30. And so it's a whole hour later. You can imagine how confusing this is for foreigners when 11:30 actually means 12:30, but it doesn't really because 12:30 means 11:30. I'm actually confusing myself just talking about this. This is super crazy. So in German for 3:30, you will say 3:30, which means like 3:30, but it's actually 3:30. Oh, it is so weird. That's just how it is in Germany, and to Germans this is totally normal, and for us, for non-Germans, this is really confusing. You can imagine how confusing this would be for foreigners just starting out learning the German language, and I'm sure a lot of foreigners and expats have been an hour late to an appointment because of this. You know, it's fine once you learn the rules of telling the time in Germany, but it still like throws me off a little bit. Like I have to stop and think every single time I say 12:30 or 1:30, and I have to kind of like put my brain back a little bit, like an hour back. I don't know, it's kind of like hard to explain, but this is something that is super confusing for foreigners. Okay, so last but not least, I am going to be talking about handshaking in Germany. So if anybody has visited Germany, you will know that Germans love a good, solid, strong handshake, and I think this is really great. I think shaking somebody's hand, looking at them in the eye is a really great thing, and it shows like assertiveness and it shows confidence, and I think it's just a really nice greeting. So in many situations, it doesn't matter if it is formal or casual, Germans like to greet you with a good, solid, strong handshake, and as I mentioned, I really like this. But one thing that threw me off is that Germans like to say goodbye with a handshake too, which is something that I was definitely not used to coming from New Zealand. So a handshake is usually something we greet somebody with in New Zealand. We definitely don't shake hands as much as Germans do, but we do shake hands in very formal situations. But in Germany, many Germans, they will shake your hand to greet you, and then they will shake your hand when they're saying goodbye to you. And I just remember my husband doing this when he came to New Zealand. So he'd meet people, like friends of mine, and as they were leaving, he would shake their hand like, oh, it was nice to meet you. So in New Zealand, that is considered really weird to shake somebody's hand as they are leaving. Like to us, there is no sense behind it because a handshake is a greeting. But in Germany, it's not like that. And so at first I thought this was like really odd that Rob was doing this. And then he explained to me that this is what they do in Germany, and I saw a lot of Germans doing this when I came to Germany. And I thought, oh, this is just a cultural difference. It's quite a big cultural difference, and it can be quite confusing if somebody comes up and shakes your hand as they're leaving. You're like, what's going on here? But it's something you get used to if you live in Germany. So anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. These were just a few little cultural differences between New Zealand and Germany, some things that confused me when I first came here. I am just somebody that is so interested in cultural differences and cultural subtleties. I love to analyze the German culture and analyze the New Zealand culture and find out what makes people tick, and I just find it also fascinating. So anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I would love you to consider subscribing to my channel. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, and I will see you again really soon. Bye!